Truth Talks. Please, I'm excited about the Truth Talks. They are addressing true fellowship and what it means, what true fellowship and corporate worship looks like according to the Bible.
Right. So where did we leave off at again? 18, 19, 20, 20, right? Because 20. All right, so let's recap. All right, so here are some things that transpired in a quick note around the world while David was being David and the kingdom was coming apart. In Jerusalem, this is 10,000. A, B, C, D. 10,000 way before Jesus. So 10,000 means 1,000 years. All right, 10, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. So my numbers sometimes they go crazy, but I'm only giving you this information because I want to let you know where the kingdom is. That was 1,000. So 1,000. You get where I'm going with this. Just trust the numbers, not me. Just look at one day if you want to highlight. Here we go. Jerusalem made the capital of the kingdom. We're getting there. This is a little ahead of what's going to happen because this story is going to roll pretty quick. We're going to start here, and the next thing you know, we're going to end up in Kings. You're going to be like, what just happened? What happened to David? Because David is on the back nine of his life. It's getting there. Hear me out. Jerusalem made the capital of the kingdom. The ark is put there. If you want to reference that, 2 Samuel 5, 6 through 10, verse 6. David organized an army, 2 Samuel again. Administration, more in Samuel's. Neighboring people alarmed. They challenged the new king. We heard that story. They got whooped on. They sent them. David sent David's zenith, or his essence of power, has reached Nathan the prophet. All types of things going on with him. Ammon, Absalom, rebellion. It's a lot of stuff that they don't talk about that's happening to David in his kingdom that is happening in other books. You know how you say you're reading one story, but like, meanwhile, over here in this story, this whole thing is happening. Here, we only getting David. He's bringing the ark. He's doing the good things for Jerusalem. He's doing all the great stuff. But if you go to the other book, we know that David is having some run-ins with family members. He's having some run-ins with other people in the nations. He's having some run-ins with himself, internal, his daughters, son. I'm like, this guy's having it all. But right here in the Chronicles, we're getting David. He's having small troubles. No. So if you want to know what's really going on, remember what I told you. If you want to know what's happening to David, and we're over here in the Chronicles, he's like, man, it's still like stuff missing. Go back to Samuel, and you'll catch all that. So now we're here in 20, right? Oh man. And it came to pass that after the years were expired, and at the time of kings to go out to battle, Joab led forth the powers in the army, and he wasted the children of Ammon, and he came to besiege Rabbah. But David tarried in Jerusalem, and Joab smote Rabbah and destroyed it. Now, if y'all, like I said, these stories intertwine. When David stayed home, David was looking over the balcony. Hey, what's going on over there? They out there fighting, and David looking over the balcony. You'll see how this fight is going? Because David is staying back. The kings are staying home now. They're not going out. Those days are past. That's what that means. They're not going out anymore. So David is staying over here. The reason why David is now in the city, even though he stayed back, because Joab said, hey, David, I took the city. If you don't come up here, they're going to say that I did it, and we're going to have this whole kerfuffle that you was having with your son all throughout those times. All right, got it, man. Fixed everything. Boom. So that's kind of like the summary of 20. Because now we're getting ready, like he's still battling, like fighting the Philistines. If you keep reading through 20, you'll see that. I'm not cutting it short. I'm just telling you, that's a snippet that the 20, if you want more, go to Samuel. All right? So we're not going to talk too much about David and his conquest, because we've been talking about David and his conquest for a long time, right? The whole point of going to the Chronicles was to show you that between what David was doing and at his death, that he had a lot of things building up Jerusalem. Solomon did not just walk into a kingdom that was partially established. Jerusalem was Jerusalem. The ark was where it was supposed to be. The priests were in their place. The worship was being done. The offerings was being done. Technically, this is exactly what it was supposed to be. Even the building of the temple that we see back there on the pretty pictures that Pastor Allen bought us for. Thank you so much. Little side view, front yard, all that stuff that we see. It was already started to be accumulated. The plans for it had already been laid in order because David, we're going to see, after he does what he does, we're going to see that David starts to hire a certain group of people to build up the kingdom. And that's very crazy to me because these people have a very specific title. Peep, stay with me here. All right, so David whipped on the Philistines again. All right, so after David had won, he came down, it was much spoils. They put the crown on his head. David was the man. Boom. David and all his people returned. They went back home to Jerusalem. Summarization really quick. All right, like I said, it came to pass. They fought. They went to Gezer. They fought the Philistines. Smoke. What. But David is victorious in all his battles. Now let's get to something that is not complicated, but sometimes in different literature and how they have transcribed the words or put it, it said that Satan moved against David. Now, why was Satan just up and decide to pick David? Well, a lot of times the old literature comes from the stories. Now, who was born first, Satan or Job? I'm sorry, not Satan or Job. Job or David? Who was born first, Job or David? Who? Job, right? Job. So these people who knew the literature knew that that's an order of things, right? So if they had this literature and they had that Satan had had Satan stood up against Israel, you would think an army or something stood up. No, let's go back and look at Job. The reason why I say that because David was being tested. Satan had stood up against him just like Job, but we see that Job was a righteous man. We're in 21. What did David do when Satan stood up against him? He wanted to count his people. This was something that God said, don't do it. Don't number them people because those people don't belong to you. And I have made those people great in this world. Why do you need to count them? Now, here's the reality of what's happening in this world. David is building up his kingdom. Now, it's things that happen in the world that is explained in the scriptures because they never talk to the person's flesh. They're speaking to the spirit and the character of the person. And when we see David, we understand that they're speaking to the character and the nature of the person. We know that David is also dealing with some things. Let's go back to this timeline here. So David is setting up the kingdom. This is all happening under Israel. The judges are passed. Now we have our kings and things happen. David. All right. So, but the Assyrians, the Assyrians have a revival and they're starting to expand from the Caspian Sea to the Persian Gulf. The Egyptians were very complete and obscure, very complex and obscure during that period. So the Egyptians aren't off the table. Remember, David whooped on some of the Egyptians, right? Like these are alliance. So David is fighting along with them. Phoenicia, Lydia, Phrygia. Some of these names I'm messing up here. The king of Tyre gets a certain village, northern part of the Hebrew kingdom, and is returned for trade facilities. Also made a treaty, an alliance with Solomon. You see how the kingdom is progressing? Like people aren't just standing still. So when David is dealing with his issue, stand up the kingdom, all of these other people in the world are still progressing forward. So now you kind of see why somebody might want to number the people because the people around them are starting to grow in armies too. So when it says Satan moved against David to number God's people, you can see how the numbering came about. David is saying these armies are moving. I need to know how many people are in there. Even when he went to number the people, what did Joab say? Hey man, that's not good. Now this is Joab. Now why is this don't do this kind of very strange coming from Joab? Joab was like, hey, we number the people. Give me the numbers. Give me the horses. Give me the chariots. Let's get this party started. But Joab is like, no, this one don't feel right. I mean, I know I murked Absalom. I know I did all types of other crazy stuff, shed blood and peace, man. But this one right here don't feel right. Numbering God's people, David, throwing still kind of early, is bad. Now, during this time, David had a seer, a certain seer, Gad, which was the prophet. So Gad the prophet comes. Now here's how Gad the prophet, I'm gonna give you a bunch of different angles of this one story. So here's how, yeah, please.
Okay, now, if we look at 2 Samuel, verse
24. Yeah, 24.
Yeah,
Verse 20.
just in case we ever look at this again, we'll see that what happened because Satan is not doing his own thing. His actions are in the hand of God. I think the scripture says the wicked one heart in the hand of God or something, but he's not on his own program. kind of a sort of
2
obedience.
Samuel 24.
Then, yeah, God used him for his purpose too. Okay, look what it says in 24:1. I mean, not in NIV. Now again, the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and it excited David against them to say, go number Israel and Judah. You see that? Okay, and so what Satan did, God allowed. He caused. Okay, so what we see in First Chronicles 21, which says Satan stood up against David and moved a number of people. We see where over in Samuel what really happened. Well, sure.
And I was just about to say, as we get these multiple angles, Gad to see her first line opening, and this is a non-canonical book. I'll leave it here if y'all want to take a look at it. And this is how Gad to see her in 7:1. It goes, and again, the anger of the Lord was kindled against Israel. And he moved Satan against David, saying, go number Israel and Judah to bring the evil spoke through Samuel the seer. This is the non-canonical, Gad the seer. Now I'm gonna pull out some different things because as we see Gad's conversation, we see David's conversation, we see the Chronicles conversation, you will see the tenderness of how and who is speaking to who. Gad was no punches when he was having this conversation because that's what a seer do. They spoke for God. They didn't have anything else in between. He didn't bring his own personal stories to the table. He said, David, this was wrong. This is what God has told me to tell you. Yes, sir.
That's same when you talk about Joab. Joab is, like say, spoke up and said, hey, in verse 3, it said, may the Lord make his people 100 times more than they are. But my Lord, the king are they not all my Lord's servants? In other words, you don't need to.
Why are we counting?
Cause the guilt in Israel.
Why do we need to bring this thing on that God has said, do not number my people? Don't count them. He said, the reason why you don't count them, because guess what? Can anybody in this room count the grains of sand on the beach? Can anybody in this room count this number of stars in the sky? So to disrespect what God said, I will make many uncountable, David has just went and said, well, what you said is uncountable. I'm going to count. You get it? I'm going to count. Like you told me everything is immeasurable, uncountable. Do you understand the slight that David, even being the king, not fully understanding who he's dealing with?
Doesn't matter what your numbers is. If God is fighting with you, you have two.
Again, we see the decline of David's thought process because of what also happened to David in other books. Go ahead.
Well, like I said, the first verse really sets it off, saying now Satan stood up against Israel and moved David to number Israel. Okay.
And remember, God's hand was in that.
Right.
That's what you just read.
Right.
Yeah.
His hand was in that and all that to have an accomplishment. And you have to go back to remember that Moses numbered one time, there was 600 some thousand, right? Okay, of the men who were coming out of the wilderness, desert, 20 in the book. Okay, that's the only time that he numbered them then, right?
He was told to.
He was told to.
He was told to. He said, number Israel. Count the heads, put them in order by tribes. If we look back on the charts right there, we see that those numbers was what Moses counted. It was more so saying count them because it's going to grow. Don't worry, Moses, don't worry about the number. Just do what I told you to do. It did grow. It grew. It grew. They started off small. And we see that they started off small in Egypt, which was a lot. They left and they grew some more, which was a lot. Then everywhere they went, they keep growing. So when David says, I want to count. Now, I wanted to be clear. We know that Satan moved against David the same way Satan moved against Job. We see two different types of movement where God says, yep, and we see what happened. David's made the decision that was going to be made anyway.
Right.
Everything is going in the order that's supposed to go because David has to show us who he is. David is an example. David is still the one that God loves. Nothing's changed here. But David is getting ready to get chastised. Right. David is going to get chastised. Now, when David numbers the people, Joab like, all right, I got the numbers. He go all the way around. He gets to the Levites and he says, not this one, not this tribe. And then he gets to Benjamin. He says, Not this one either. Now, we know why the Levites didn't get numbered. When you look at the historical events and how Israel is growing, we know that the Levites didn't get numbered because they were not the fighters. They were the priests. But why Benjamin? Why Benjamin didn't get numbered? Because at a time like this, Benjamin's numbers would have been so low from all of the previous battles with Saul, the Philistines. Remember, when they fought, they mounted up with their people. So when he saw this numbers, I can't count them. It'd be wrong because David's not asking to count these people just because he want to know about how many people in Israel. He's counting because war. David is a man of, there you go. I don't have to tell you, the Bible said it.
Counted once back in your chapter 7.
Right.
Back then.
All right, now this counting, right? This counting by this man of war. When he does it, it's like David is showing that human side that we see. We've seen all the great things that David did. And this is so we can see that David is still under the chastisement of the Lord. He's not separate from it. He's not special. He got it a verse ago, he got the crown. He just did a great battle, beating the Philistines, smoting all the enemies, got a crown, doing great things. In fact, the kings are standing back, but we know that David's having some little shortcomings. But he got the crown. He should be good, right? We should not have this problem. All right, so we know that David. Who did this displease? And God was displeased with this thing. Therefore, he smote Israel. He. Singular, justice, raining down. Now, here's the thing. He didn't ask David. He didn't say, David, I love Israel more than the rest of the world. He went straight to business. He began destroying it. Chop it up. Y'all made me mad. Now, people say, oh, no, you know, he got the gentle God and all he want to do is hug and make rainbows. He do. He loves his people. He loves his children. But if you go to Proverbs 3:12, he will chastise you. Now, I wish I had a big brother and sister like that. A lot of times they was like, nah, we all going to get this whooping. Everybody. If I'm getting beat, you getting beat. I used to be like, man, that is crazy, man. Like, now, I will say it was more like that with my cousins because my sisters were older than me, so they really didn't take too many whoopings for me. But if it came down to whoopings and my cousins and they could have took one by themselves, no, I was all for the team. That's how I learned that teamwork worked during beatings. Because I ain't never had one of my cousins say, yeah, man, I'm going to solo this whooping. Man, you a real one, man. Even though we was both in the kitchen playing and we broke it, man, you going to just take that beating by yourself? Not once. Not once. Not once. And David said unto God, he said, I've sinned greatly and done this thing. I beseech you. I'm asking you, because he can't tell him nothing. I'm asking you. Do away with these iniquities to thy servant, for I have done foolish. And the Lord said spoke. He didn't even want to talk to David. He didn't want to talk to David. Man, I ain't talking to you, David. He said, let me go talk to Gad. The Lord spoke to Gad, David seer, his prophet. I'm at 9. 21:9. And the Lord spoke to David, and he said, go and tell David these things. I got some things. Thus says the Lord, I offer you 3 things. Choose one of these things that I may do unto thee. Now, first of all, let's see how I go with Gad. Because Gad said, hey, man, 300. So after the count. And the Lord was displeased with the act of Israel and the Gad the seer. Thus said the Lord, I am the king of Israel. See, there's a difference. When Gad was getting the message, we got a little soft here. The Chronicles was like, oh yeah, this is what Gad said. He said, Gad the seer said to David, thus said the Lord, I am the king of Israel. Humble check. Is what happened in the last verse. They was over here putting crowns on. He wanted to start coming. Nah, let me remind you who sits in this seat. David. Remember back when I just told you I brought you from the sheepfold? Not only did I bring you from the sheepfold, I didn't put you in charge of sheep. I did this, but let me remind you, I am the king of Israel. And he didn't stop there. He said something that when the old culture, to hear this, it meant everything. I am their portion. I am their avenger. I am their fortress and their might. And you know that it is not with the sword or spear that I will save, and not with the man of violence, valiance that draws a sword. For this is the portion of the heathen that stands on their might and their warriors. So that was the message from Gad. Completely a little different, right? Because now we see that David, the fear that he had of all the people around him, to number his people was to say, I need the numbers because it's time for me to fight. And God said, wait a minute, not you, David. I already had to talk to you about Bathsheba. We already had this conversation. We dealt with that. But now you want to do this? I'm going to give you 3 choices because you got to eat this one. This one is coming home to you. You're going to feel it. We could either have pest. What was them again? What were they? 3 years of famine. Y'all could be hungry. Now, this is the thing. Why not famine? Why not famine? Why not famine?
Why not, man?
Why not famine? I mean, you're getting 3 choices, and famine is one of them.
You gotta get the other 2 choices so you can figure it out.
Okay, so what's the other one? But why not famine? Like, when God is giving you a choice, why you need 3 other ones?
Oh, come on.
It only gets worse. Do you understand? Why not say, hey, I'll take famine. I will take famine for 3,000. 3,000 God. Why not famine? Because Israel remembered those famine days. They remember how famine tore through their tribes. Why would you want to repeat that? What's the next one?
Israel ain't got nothing to do with that. It's Dave's got nothing to do with it.
No, that's what I'm saying. But this is the thing. Hear me out.
David is Israel. Go.
David is Israel.
Right.
He remembers. David is a historian if he's nothing else. He talks about the days of old. He remembered the people. He listened. David tells you this in all of his Psalms. I remember the days of old. I was there. Boom. Listen. So David knows why not famine? Because famine was one of the worst things that Israel happened. Famine took them into bondage. Famine was the handcuffs that they put on Israel for 400 something years. You think they're going to do that again? Not going to do that again. What was the other one?
Okay, 3 months to be defeated by your foe with the sword of your enemies overtaking you.
Man, just go ahead, man, because I was out here running from a king for way longer than 3 months. I had my dogs with me. I know I could take Joab. We could go out here and we could be on the run. 3 months. What was that last part though, guy?
Oh, the 3rd one?
The last one. The last part of that second one.
Oh, 3, okay.
3 months on the run.
On the sword, they're overtaking, for your enemy to overtake you.
Oh, I'm going to die at the end of that. Do you hear it? Like David is not, when we hear sentences, don't slip on the information. Oh, 3 months on the run, I got it. But the sword is going to overtake you at the end. So I don't want famine because famine is worse on the whole of Israel. I don't want to go on a run because that's a death sentence. What's the 3rd one?
The 3rd one?
What's the 3rd one? Because right now I got 2 death sentences. I told you it only gets worse. It doesn't get better. So
Or else.
wait. Or else.
Or else.
So that means the first 2 decisions wasn't really choices. The or else is what you get. You ever had your parents, they say, hey, you could do X, Y, Z, or else. The or else is really the decision. The other 2 is kind of like, I'm set up. Or else. Please.
Or else for 3 days, the sword of the Lord, the plague in the land, with the angel of the Lord destroying throughout all the territory of Israel, not concerned what answer I should take back to him who sent me. That was a lot there.
So David got hit. You thought that Nathaniel hit David with a hoo-ha moment, like, wow, like, it's you, David. You the one that was doing that. Nah, Gad was like, Nathaniel did this, let me up it. You want to get socked in the stomach by God? You want to get uppercut by God? Or you want to just take God to just body slam the whole kingdom? Your choice, because you did this, because you put that crown on your head thinking you were special, and you was just one of the sheepfold like everybody else. What you got from bro?
Yeah. That's good critical thinking because God was always the king.
Always.
And then they wanted a king. But when they got a king, sometimes you get so far, you can forget, though, yeah, he gave you a king, but he didn't stop being your king. So since you want to be the king, like I'm the king, then I'm going to let you be the king. But in these choices, you get to be the king, and which one you pick, for the people. And so just a quick reminder for David and the people that God is still your king.
I'm your daddy.
Oh, wait. So I just wanted to get that out because remember, this is multi-perspective. That's the chroniclers. That's them. So Gad had it, Gad the seer. He like, hey, why y'all do this to me? Gad said, after he was done, after God has told him about many wars, he said, God is still talking. He said, but you are not like that, for I am a lone warrior. This is God still talking to David. For I am a lone warrior, and there is no one with me. Why would you do this evil to number the people? For that I will strike Israel, so you will know that I'm the Lord. That's why he did it. David never had a chance. If you hear from Gad, he's telling David, I'm going to strike Israel. So just pick. See, A, B, C, or whatever. You're just pick. Make it quick, because this angel right now is like this. See, when we hear scriptures like, and angels stand ready, it's not a joke. This is not something that somebody just said, you know what, man, I feel like writing a cute, cuddly story. No, I want y'all to understand that it's an angel standing ready for whatever, on business. They not walking around like people think, oh, the angels, they're spreading their wings. No, they ready to take out legions of armies. Poof, 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 gone. They just wait. And this one angel was like, yes, Lord, today is my day. Unsheath me. Boom. Can you see? We think it was like, man, it was cute and cuddly and angel. No, because David's going to explain it. It's an angel chopping down, just everywhere, hatches, just tearing the place up. Because David saw that. So Gad, right? Whew, get excited. It said, you're not like me. You ain't tough. You don't do this stuff. I fight by my. Do you? Man, you could talk about that for hours on end. Like to have a God that does not need you, but still wants you to go out to the battlefield with him? You understand? Like it's evident that what David did, he stepped on a toe that was too big for him to get his. Yo, it's crazy. Have you ever, anybody in here ever stepped on somebody's feet and got in a fight? I have. It's funny. It's a weird way to start a fight. Especially when you're like, yo, I could just wipe it off. And like, nah, bro, we got it. Crazy. So this is where David at. He's on a toe stepping situation with the wrong one. So David, knowing what he did, he said, why would you do that? He said, for I will strike Israel down, so you know that I'm the Lord in the midst of the earth. So he said, I got to do this. All right. In the midst of the earth. And David's heart was grieved after that and said unto the Lord, I have sinned greatly. I think it kind of, that's what we see David, the Chronicles like, oh, I sinned greatly. So I have sinned greatly and done this, but now, O Lord, I beg you, take away the iniquity of his servant because I've acted foolish. And David rose up in the morning and the word of the Lord had already come to Gad the prophet. So the word was already coming. The whooping was coming before David was even finished counting the people. This is not something like God woke up that morning and was like, man, I got to whoop David. Hey, man, he said tomorrow's coming. David's whooping is there. The angel was already on deck because he already knew. Remember, this is all from the foundation of the world. This isn't, the Bible has at the end. You see what I'm saying? So this was already pre-planned. Every part of this story we hear, we knew it was coming. Well, we know because we have the scriptures. But David, he chose. We heard his options, right? All right. Please.
But and I didn't get your pre-plan, but God has decreed some things before the foundation of the world.
Yeah.
But yet He also decreed some things in time. For instance, this doing here from God, the scripture tells us it's in response to something. So we have the sovereignty of God on one hand, but we got human responsibility on the other. So the true message will be here is that Israel was in violation. So the story says that's why God did it. Because what we don't want to do is put it on God and say, God did it regardless. God did it for a reason, and so this went forward because of if I may say, an error, from David's side.
Again,
Not so much because God ordained it, but because this was decreed in time because of an error, like Israel being taken to Babylon was because of disobedience. That's what the scripture says. Right, because of disobedience, not because God ordained it.
right.
You know, I think that's what it out there.
And it is. It's an ordained plan, meaning we don't know everything. We don't know where we're going to fail. I'm not saying, well, God just up and said, well, this is how I'm going to create man to do this. He said, no, man is going to fall right here. Like, it's not a surprise that whatever you're going to do, good or bad or indifferent tomorrow, it's not going to surprise God. This is what I'm saying when it's ordained, when it's all part of the plan, because this did not surprise God. Like, he didn't just say these are 3 random things that I was just thinking up at a spur. You see, because it's in the scriptures. If it would have been random, it would have been like, oh, well, God had he would have put that in there. I had to pick a randomness of my, he didn't. He was very stern. And that's why I said Proverbs 3:12. He was very stern in his judgment. He's very righteous in what he said. He was not the one wronged in this.
What the nation of Israel said, if you do right, I'll bless you.
Right.
And if you don't, I'll curse you.
Mm-hmm.
And so how God deal with them was on continuous, or whether they obeyed or disobeyed. So that's where God put it to them. He didn't say, I've ordained that you would do right or do wrong. He gave them a choice. Like he gave him a choice. Don't count. And so because he did, the story tells us God did. That's what I'm putting it out there.
And that's what I'm saying. We're going in the order of the story. It's going to fall how it falls. We could have a million theories in between, but we know that the story fell like this, and it wasn't a surprise. We're saying the same thing.
Right.
It wasn't a surprise to God. Everything that's happening to David, it's not a surprise to God, but it is for us to be educated by it. We learn from what David did. It's all types of tales and richness of how David acted, even in the fear that David is getting ready to exempt. Because fear is a way, it tells us how to act as well. All right, so God gives David the choices, A, B, C, or D. All right, says these 3 choices. Or you flee 3 months before your friend. So David said, look, I'm not equipped to run. The land shouldn't have pestilence. It's my fault that we're here. I numbered the people. I was the one that brought this great sin. And again, I'm not speaking in the order of scripture. We'll get to that. He's saying, I'm the one that brought this great sin on it. Let it be on me. Let me fall into the hands of the Lord. Now, I say that because as we run through this, we're going to see what happens when you fall into the hands of the Lord. Now, we hear in the scriptures, woe to the man that falls into the hands of the Lord. But why would David say, let me fall into the hands of the Lord? Well, let's go back to the options. Famine. We know it tore Israel apart. We know running for 3 months, David at his old age is past the time when kings go out. So, and at the end of it, it did say that he's going to fall to the sword. So that's kind of off the table. And the last one was 4 years of, was it 3 days of the angel of the Lord. So when David said, let me fall into your hands, don't put me in the man. I don't want to do it. So God did with that. Now remember, the angel was already tearing stuff up. As you read the story, the angel was already tearing stuff up. So David makes this win. All right, so let's get back on the story here. So David's choice. All right, and God was displeased. And David said to him, I'm in great straits. Let me fall into the hand of the Lord, for is very great are his mercies. But let me not fall into the hand of man. David has made his choice. We've heard this many times. That's why I don't have to beat this one up. It says, so the Lord sent pestilence upon Israel, and there fell 70,000 men. You want to count? Now you have minus 70,000. You can do math now, David. Ugh. Do you understand? Like, this is what's happening. All right, 70,000 men. And God sent the angel unto Jerusalem to destroy it. And he was destroying. And the Lord beheld, and he repented of the evil, and said to the angel that was destroying, it is enough, stand thy hand. And the angel of the Lord stood by the threshing floor of Ornan the Jebusite. And David lifted up his eyes and saw the angel of the Lord. Again, I want you to fully understand. This isn't some, we're the ones in this physical meat bag that don't get to experience all the spiritual joys of the world. We have to, go ahead.
Oh, this is good because look, he tells the angel when to stop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is kind of, this is the way it is in judgment. A lot of people, when they talk about judgment, it's like God is gonna be just one entity doing things, but if we read the book of Revelations, it's the angels that are actually enacting the judgment. They're like God's executioners, you know, where they'll be the one carrying out God's bidding. Now the Bible do talks about the wrath of God, but just like here, when he moves the angel to do, he tells the angel to stop. That's a picture of what's going to happen to all men who will receive the wrath of God. It'll be actually at the hands of the executioners.
Yeah. David is physically, not just David, it's other elders of Israel. We sometimes take away and add to the mystery of understanding. Not everybody, not a lot of people. They forget, like, the Bible isn't some distant story. It's history. It's our story. Don't let somebody downplay and say, oh, it was a metaphorical. No, because we are the ones that don't get to see this. We talk about the miracles of the world, people getting superhuman strength, or like we see all that stuff and we all add it on social media. This was before social media. It was only a handful of people there that had their iPhones at that time. It was their iPhones looking up at the heavens and seeing an angel with a sword right over like this. Like, this is the thing. And the angel had, at this point, Jerusalem to that angel is an ant on the ground because it came across it. That Jerusalem, David, those people had came against the Lord. The angel didn't care. The angel didn't care who was in that town. You have offended my king. I got to take you off the map. Jerusalem, what was the order? Jerusalem, rubble, got it. Just chopping it up everywhere, just having a good time, just kicking stuff over, like sword swinging. And you see the elders, and like, this is the thing. I wonder what the people was doing, because buildings are just falling down. They're only saying a certain amount of people are seeing this. They've already experienced pestilence. They're getting their buildings chopped down. And the only person that can see it is David and the elders. Why? Because that's who God is communicating with. He is the only one that can speak right now to save God. Remember what I said? This is where David's like, yo, he came out, looked up, like he probably freaked out, like spazzed out. Felt let God, me. All right, don't do this to me. That was serious. God said, all right, see where that sword was hanging over? David said, I'm gonna go up there and make a sacrifice. Now, when I looked into this, the amount that was paid for that plot of land is ridiculous. But let's go back to what we talked about, how when it comes down to what needs to be, you know, what it is, how the women who had their oil prepared, they made sure that they bought as much oil in the town. Well, David saw that land and he said, the value of it is immeasurable to me. Like, it can't be measured. I'll pay whatever. The guy was like, nah, you don't have to pay me all this, because David is now up at Obed-Edom because he's getting ready to make the sacrifice. He's building an altar in the ways of Moses. We'll get back to that. And David is like, I can't, because it's a lot right now. It's multiple places where sacrifice is being made, but I'm gonna go ahead and buy this plot of land where that sword is over, because this is where the sword stopped. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna offer this guy whatever he got. So value-wise, in modern day times, a fair price for that would have been $400 to $600, fair price. And that time, David paid equivalent to $360,000 to $480,000 for that land, that animal, and everything, the threshing floor, so forth, so on. Why? Because David said, I don't care the price. This is where I'm going to make the sacrifice to end this, because this is what the Lord told me to do. So let's read it. So we got the pestilence. And David says, if you pick back up on 21:17, and David said to the guy, is it not I that I commanded the people to be numbered? Even I have sinned and done this evil indeed. But as for the sheep what have they done? Let thy hand, I pray thee, O Lord, Lord my God, be upon me and my father's house, but not on thy people, that they should be plagued. Man, that's a powerful statement right there. Very strong, right? David is literally saying, you are destroying things here. 70,000 people have died. Everything is happening here, dear Lord. Now, when somebody said my father's house, y'all know what that meant, right?
Everybody in the family goes.
Gone. His line, you out of there. When David said that, it was equivalent to saying, I'm gonna get on a cross and everything poured on me. Don't hurt nobody else. Just pour it all on me. This is my fault. But the thing is, David was blameful. Jesus was blameless. You see the difference? David still had the heart that God was looking at. The one to say, I know that what you're doing here is because of this is the kingdom. But put it on me. Put it on me. Wipe me off the earth. And that's why I brought up Job. Because what did Job say? Take away this day, take away this day, take away this, but don't take God away from me. All right. So when David was saying this, he's saying, put it on me. Then the angel of the Lord commanded Gad to say to David, David should go up and set an altar to the Lord in the threshing floor of Oran the Jebusite. Now remember the Jebusite where the town was, right? Oran the Jebusite, he's up there. Oran the Jebusite, they did not leave these areas. When I say they didn't leave these areas, we're going to see one who left the area, and then we'll get to that. I like to pre-tell the story. All right, so David, the Lord commanded Gad to go say to David, David should go up and set up an altar unto the Lord on the threshing floor of Oran the Jebusite. And David went up there went up there at the sand of Gad, which he spoke in the name of the Lord. And Oran turned back and saw. So this is now look, he turned back. The angel is not done shocking people. So we got the elders, we got David, we got the elders. Now we're gonna get somebody else who see the angel. This is why he wanted to sell it so cheap. And David went up saying to Gad, which he spoke in the name of the Lord, and Oran turned back. Now, this guy was just him and his kids. They out there just doing their thing, relaxing. They see David coming up. Now, this is how, and people in the military kind of back me up here. When they tell you about like horizon, like looking at the horizon, right? You see first what's in front of you, and then your eyes kind of scan up, right? Because you don't look directly at the sun. You adjust to look up. So Oran is out there, his whole family, they back turned, and they working. Oh, yeah, man, they think, oh, I hear some horses coming up. Hey, it's that. Oh, yeah, we can go ahead and sell that for whatever you asking for. The price changed real quick because soon as he turned around, I'm not adding anything in there. He said he turned around. I'm just reenacting. A man just out there on the threshing floor, they getting all their wheat and grain. Because this how I had the chance to go up to the Bible Museum. So the threshing floor is a little thing like this, and they all in there working. And Oran get there, and David here. Look up. Oh, David's my king. Hey, whoa. Why you bring all them with you? You ain't tell me you was bringing him. And the angel like, man, let's get this party started. So then David said to Oran, grant me this place of the threshing floor, that I may build an altar there to the Lord. Thou shalt grant it to me for the full price, that the plague may be stayed from the people. And Oran said to David, take it, like, take it to thee, and let my lord the king do that which he sees good in his eyes. And I give thee the ox. He said, yo, I'm giving you everything, the fire, all of it. And David, now this is crazy, right? The angel of the Lord is still up there. Oran is trying to get rid of the land at whatever the cost is. David understands that his woes is so bad. It's a crazy conversation. Hey, take the land. No, I gotta buy it. Take it, man. You see that angel? No, I have to buy it. How much? This, it's too much. They're going back and forth, and the angel's probably like, it's going on down there. And just hurry up and get this over with so I can go back here and relax in heaven with God standing by, because the angels stand by, awaiting on the Lord, right? This is what the scriptures tell us. The angel want to go back and stand by. He is happy. This is his day. He got his mission, but now it's over. He ain't smoking no more. He ain't knocking down buildings. Now he got to go back and wait for revelation, the end times. Yeah, wait until them angels come. You think this one was over here chopping up Jerusalem? They gonna be walking around just killing Philadelphia? I'm just being honest.
Oren was, that's scary.
Huh?
I thought it was scary.
Yeah.
And somehow Oren was a Canaanite.
Mm.
And now you see he's a believer.
Mhm.
He's getting first insight. He's working kind of with David. You know, we can see what David sees.
Remember,
he was
they
fighting
saved him.
against David. Yeah, so he was a Canaanite.
All right, so David finally, they come up with a good price, which I've given you, and they finally answered, and they made the sacrifice, right? David makes the sacrifice there for the tabernacle of the Lord, which Moses made in the wilderness. So he recrafted, which Moses made in the wilderness, offered the burnt offerings, were at the seasons in a place of Gibeon. But David could not go there. Now remember, I told you it was multiple places in the offering. David stopped going to Gibeon. Now why is Gibeon so important? Wasn't that homework? Huh? Nah, because I don't even remember. There you go. I do remember. Across Jordan, 2 rocks on both sides. Come on, man. That was the most fun part of the story, man. Building a little altar. So now David, thank you, man. See that? I know it's love in the room. That's why David said, like, I can't go back there, though. I know that's the original place, but after what I did, I'm kind of scared. So David, from that point on, if you go back and you combine this with the book of Samuel, you'll start to see David's fear of the Lord. We're starting to see more of the human side of the Lord. We know David is human, but we see some of the beautiful things that we've done along with some of the bad things he's done. This is not to discredit David, by no means. This is to let you know that we served a king who had a king, and he got out of line. Makes sense? Make dollars. All right, so we are going to kind of put a pin in it. I got 5 more. Then David said, this is the house of the Lord, and this is the altar of the burnt altar. Now, we see that it's now kind of separate places to offer, ain't it? The one down there is like, this isn't a king's decree that he's saying everybody has to come up here and sacrifice. Eventually it's going to be, because that's where the altar is going to end up at, right? But it's funny that we see a little bit of division in places where they supposed to worship. Y'all think that might be a problem for Solomon? How many people read ahead? Because one day Solomon was running all those places. Keep in mind the ripples that happen because of things that shouldn't happen. Like the beauty of me when I study the scriptures, I find all the ripples. Like, man, if Ishmael didn't disrespect or go against his father, clans would have been together. He wouldn't have ran over to the mountain. If Esau and Jacob wouldn't have had that, you see all of the fractures and how they split up to turn into these great spider webs. If you completed all that and you said, man, that looks like a spider web, this graph on the wall, look like a spider web. You can get caught in it if you're on the wrong side of it. But if you're on the wrong side of it, but if you're on the right side of it and understanding, you'll see it. All right, so David made this offer. And David commanded to gather. Who did he get? David provides for the temple. We're still in 22. This is after. So David is making the altar. He's like, hey, he already talked to Gad in previous chapters about building this temple. So now David has to get people to build the temple. Why not just ask Israel? Why not just ask Israel to build the temple, AKA a building of worship, AKA what we might call it now, church, right? Why not ask Israel to build it? Well, first off, you couldn't have Israelites as slaves, which means if they was working and they decided they didn't want to work anymore, they could just went home. Second, the people that were brought in to help David build the temple, y'all want to know something? They were not Jews.
NASB calls it foreigners.
They were not. So who's building the temple? Whose hands are building the temple? Whose hands are building the church? Foreigners, AKA a nation that is other than in Israel, AKA Gentiles. The Gentiles are building David's church. That's what strangers were. I mean, if I had glasses, I would tilt them down and read it like this. I think it would give me. So do you see? The Gentiles have always been working on the church. It's always been there. The story is right here in our eyes. It's been telling us this since the whole beginning of creation. So David commanded to gather together strangers that were in the lands of Israel, and he set masons to hew and wrought stones to build the house of God. The house is now getting ready to be built. Instructions are now getting ready to be given out. Things are now getting ready to go forward, and David is getting ready to get another gut punch. You've gathered all this stuff. You've heard the prophecy. You're ready to go. But here, David is already aware of why he can't do it. But we all know why David ain't building his house. We got 20 something chapters and some of Samuel to tell you why David ain't building his house. You know, people say he was a man of blood. He was a man of war. And they say the reason why he didn't build a temple because of Bathsheba. Because of what he did. Nope. God said your hands has too much blood. I don't want it to touch it. I don't want those hands on it. Even though I sent you to do the blood, I don't want you to do it. Because if you built this temple, David, now this is the explanation of Solomon versus David. If you build this temple, there are many enemies. Some of that timeline, there are many enemies around you, David. Build it if you want to. Your hands is covered in blood. As soon as you set a brick down, you're going to have a nation coming upon you. Why? Because you fought people. And you getting ready to build one of the most beautiful things in the middle of everything. Oh, they coming for it, David. They fought you. They fought you before. Why won't they fight you again to get it? But Solomon, they don't know. He's a man of rest. Nobody know him. He's peaceful in his days. He's a little kid. He don't have an enemy out here that we know about. Solomon had a lot of enemies that he took out early in the game. All right, so David builds I think I got to wrap it up at 7:30. Man, such a fun time with you guys. I'm going to leave it right here. We're going to leave it at 22. How y'all get to 5 that fast? I think we got a little bit more to talk about in 3. Let's do 20. Let's do 20. Let's do 20, 22, 3. We'll start there next time. 3.5.